Welcome to the COAA Way podcast, which is devoted to the idea that a team of people led by a good owner sharing best practices in a culture built on trust and respect will complete better projects. I'm Howie Ferguson. I'm the executive director of COAA, the Construction Owners Association of America. And today, we'll be talking finally with our current president, John Zahor, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, who will no doubt recognize that little intro I just read because he helped me and a handful of other people write it. But before John introduces himself, let me let my co-pilot Lucy introduce herself.
Hey, everybody. My name is Lucy Castro, and I'm the Manager of Operations and Administration here at COA. And today I will be playing the straight man. Thanks. Let's take it away.
Okay, John, or for those of you who know, in the inside baseball of COA, we have a lot of Johns. So we took years ago to calling John JZ, John Zahor, as opposed to JB and some other J's. So JZ, tell us, if you will, and you can go as deep or as shallow as you want, just kind of the story of where you are, what you do, and how you got there, including before UMBC.
Wow. Okay. So, my name is John Zahor. I am currently the AVP of Facilities Management at UMBC. So University of Maryland, Baltimore County, exactly. And I don't know how I got here. So I say that, a lot of us, I think, if you get to this stage in your career, you certainly aren't where you projected yourself to be. So I am a graduate of Penn State, the incredible architectural engineering program there. I know that I graduated there in '88. Almost everybody I met out of the gate in the industry was from either a graduate from Penn State or from Virginia Tech. They were the two leading programs on the East Coast for construction management. I graduated construction management in architectural engineering. And I went to work for a local contractor in Connecticut. Then I went to a contractor in Boston. And then it was pretty short stints. And then in 1990, they had a really bad economy. Ended up coming down to Baltimore. And I got with a contractor here and built some buildings in town. Didn't think I'd stick around very long, but met my future wife, and boom. Again, it's one of those things where life happens when you're planning everything else, right? When you meet the right person, it's not something you plan or expect, and then all of a sudden, it's presented to you. It's there in front of you, and if you're smart enough, you'll get on that train, so to speak. Continued with contractors, worked for a couple here in the area. Got great experience in the construction management. As a contractor, certainly learned a lot on the technologies, but learned the process, right? That's what we always talk about. We're process managers. If you're a good project manager, you understand your role as a process manager. You're making sure that the things happen, not necessarily doing them. And then kind of migrated to, I was with a company that does contracting, but they actually had a construction management role, which we were the owner's rep. And I started learning, well, that's interesting, what to do as the owner's rep. And now I'm, you're going to learn how not to, be the contractor and not trying to do the contractor's work, but manage them and the AE. And of course, all the other folks that now I'm responsible for as the owner. And that is, again, I think probably was a better role to be in, learning the owner's position, because I had no authority as the owner. I had to get all the owners to do what they needed to do with no real authority to get them to do it. So it was quite an experience. I really enjoyed that. Then I ended up going back for just, again, things in front of me. Ended up working as a contractor again. Did that for a little while, but it was pretty far away from where I lived. It was an hour ride each way. And I had boys in high school. that they got to a point where it certainly benefited them to have a significant male influence. They needed some attention, some guidance at that stage of their life, and I was fortunate enough. Again, doors open up in front of you if you're smart enough to take them. At UMBC as a project manager, and really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would be here long. Just like I didn't think I'd stay in Maryland, and then I met my wife. I didn't think I would stay at UMBC. In previous roles working for government folks, I didn't know that it would be the environment that I would want to work in. It's a little bit more of kind of do your job and those kind of things where you're not really motivated to go out and kick butt, to do things at an extreme pace and try to get things done in a way that you would get rewarded for them, right? But I found that the pace here was still very aggressive, but and folks that did their work very well. But also I was able to really recognize that I'd say a better quality of life, and I enjoyed it. And obviously I've impressed some people, at least enough to get to my current position. So I'm grateful for that. Again, one of those things where the door opens, take it, and it's been very lucky. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, and out of that whole answer, John, I'm still stuck about 6 minutes ago on why you ever left Boston. But that's a different thing. The Orioles Red
Another
Sox
day.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for another time. Okay, so kind of related to that journey, John, almost all of it. But you had some great, and you're one of the best I know at metaphors, analogies, all those. You're talking about doors open and stuff. No, but there was a little bit of a theme there, and it's a theme that we've heard without trying from several of our other guests. And the theme is, the word I would put on it is transition. We talked to Jack Muma. We talked almost everybody we've talked to, everybody in the world that has a little bit of age on their tire, like we do, has gone through transitions, personal, professional, whatever. So I guess my first real question is, talk about that. You're still going through a transition right now, probably in the realm of careful what you ask for, right? Nice promotion, and talk about that and how you deal with transition, and how maybe someone younger who's dealing with transition for the first, maybe something you could share with them.
Okay, so I think that it's really about presence of mind. I've learned a lot more lately about being present, and being conscious of what's going on. You plan, as I said it earlier, life is what happens while you're planning everything else. The planning is absolutely important. It's crucial. But if you again, it's about, again, forcing things, right? So if you plan that this is what we're going to do, and you're going to, no matter what, I am going to stick to this plan, you may be pushing things in a direction that they aren't meant to go. It becomes taking a moment. I'm pretty spiritual. I don't know if it's God talking to me, or what other worldly presence, unworldly presence. If it's just that I'm just lucky enough to have that additional voice in my head. I don't know, that says, okay, wait a minute, what are you doing? I think that's part of the transition process, is because by nature, it is not something you necessarily have planned. You could say, well, I planned it out and I'm going through the transition now, but there's so much about it that you probably didn't know you were going to encounter. And then how do you handle that? And it's really using all of your previous experiences and trying to take your best practices and understand, okay, I've been here something like this before. This is what it feels like. But then a lot of it is really gut feel. It's like, okay, who's involved? How are they responding to it? What do I need to do to make them successful? Right. So again, your plan may be based on, what it's going to be for you or your project to be successful. But if you're thinking about what are all the other partners, right? So like what's in a project, what's it going to take for the contractor to be successful? What's it going to take for the AE to be successful? Your stakeholders, some of that you may not have understood the level of detail you needed to when you made your plan. And now you have to understand, okay, how is this whole thing going to be most successful? I guess I think about that. It's a high level response to that question, but it really is taking account every day for everyone else involved, and how do you make everyone successful?
So, Jay-Z, when it comes to those decision makings, who do you talk to when you're at the top of the hen house? Now, who do you bounce these ideas off of to make sure that you're taking everybody into account?
Thanks, Lucy. I think, as I've always been very comfortable with saying I'm not the expert. How did I get here? Well, I'm managing now at UMBC. I manage the design and construction folks, also all the operations and maintenance folks, the planning folks, sustainability and things of that sort. So I made my way here mostly through the design and construction silo. I did spend a little bit of time on operations and maintenance, so that gave me that diverse experience. I really have never done planning. I'm not a sustainability professional. Those type of things. Energy management's another one. I don't do those things, and I'm always very comfortable saying, okay, I may not be the expert at this. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me how, what's from your professional experience, wherever you are, that, you report to me, but we have to make a good decision. I need you to explain to me why you think which direction's best, which way we should go. How does this change impact what you're doing? And then I'm really relying on, hopefully I'm relying on some good judgment, again, from all of those things. And like I said earlier, it's a matter of taking everything you have, but at that last moment, you have to think about, okay, what makes sense here? What feels right in taking all of that into account?
Yeah, and I think the other thing, John, that ironically you're too humble to say, but the other thing that what we hear in there and hear with some of our other guests, there's a sense of humility, enough humility to say, look, you guys are in this particular area are smarter than me. What do you think? That doesn't mean you're soft. That doesn't mean you're gonna roll over. It doesn't mean you can't make decisions. It means that you're a smart servant leader, and you're going to rely on people who know this better than you and not be afraid to admit that. So kudos. Back on the transition thing, something I thought of as you were talking, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, but if not, tell us. I think it sounds like you, I wouldn't say have mastered, but you're above average at the thing that trips people up with transition, which is being comfortable with discomfort. That's a big part of the problem with transition is it's different, and we're humans and we like same. We complain about it. Oh, I'm in a rut, but we like, right? And then all of a sudden you got this new job, you get a new office, new people, new this. Where's the paper clips? People don't like that. And it sounds like you have honed your skills at being temporarily uncomfortable. Is that fair?
That's fair. I think that I am, I think by my DNA, I think my dad was like this. I'm a fireman. You have the folks, them out there. They perform best in emergencies. They perform best when helter skelter or whatever. But you've seen them. I say this with humility and out of respect for my dad. And they get to the point where they really only function well in emergencies. It's almost to the point of which they are now only handling things, almost waiting for things to become an emergency. I've had to train myself to be more proactive, and try to be a better planner and try to be looking down the road and trying to, see those things and not let things go to an emergency. But yeah, so I mean, as you say it, I'm not uncomfortable when things suddenly change, and it might not be the bottom fell out of the earth kind of emergency, but it's not what we hoped for. Oh my God, what are we going to do? I don't freeze up and go, well, I didn't plan for this, so the heck with it, throw the whole thing out. We're just,
Yeah.
okay, guys, stop. Okay, let's make an adjustment. Those things Yeah, I'm
Well,
not uncomfortable with that. Right.
well, John, I'm laughing because I like to laugh as you do, and Lucy, and I'm thinking about what you said 2 minutes ago about you certainly know design and construction, you know a little bit about operations and maintenance planning. You've never really done that. I'm picturing a staff meeting where your planners are talking. Well, look, boss, we're working on the 10-year master plan, and this fireman and you were saying, why? Who cares? We'll right?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll figure out what we're going to build. Yeah, give us the money. We'll figure it out. Whatever.
10 years? What are
Yeah,
you people
we'll make it
crazy?
happen.
10 years.
Am I even
Yeah.
going to be here? What?
Right.
The firemen versus the planners. I love it. The visual. Um, hey John, I kind of mentioned it quickly before that giant question that you had to spend a while on because it was your whole journey to this point, right? But I mentioned and you heard the words, right? The COAA Way. We try not to make these podcasts a COAA commercial, but I have to ask because you were part of it. Talk a little bit about that thing that we the organization, not Howie John, but just that it was there for a long time. It just didn't
Yep.
have a logo and a little definition. Talk about that and the pride I would think you would feel from being an important piece of that.
Yeah, when you talked and you read our definition at the beginning, again, same thing. It's just every time I hear it, I really do take that to heart. It's kind of the national anthem for us, and because it feels it's what we think about every day, and what we try to accomplish as teams. So it's and as you said, for me, it really was that moment that we were sitting around trying to explain and try to put some definition on this thing that we do. And it was like, that the way, like the COAA way, and it was just came out all natural. The definitions then just poured out, really pretty naturally. And so I think about that with day-to-day tasks. So not just construction related. It's and construction project related. It really is all about those things we talk about, really the humility, some of the things I just talked about. And it's, it really is about this idea that we can't do these things alone. You just can't. You really need everyone working together and without a separate agenda and all that stuff. So it really transcends just, a construction project.
For sure. And related to that, John, if you could, and you can go wherever you want. This could be your overall organization. It could be one of your former departments. It could be a project. It could be anything you want. Because any of those subsets, what I'm about to ask you about, matters. And that is culture. And that's kind of without the word being in the COAA Way definition. That's I don't think it is. Maybe it is. But anyway, that's part of what we're getting at, right? And then how important that is. Talk a little bit about that, especially because again, you're still transitioning. Now you're kind of responsible for setting the tone and culture for this. Even now, you're at a higher level, even more people. Talk about culture and what it means.
Yeah. So yeah, it really is it's a mindset, it's an approach, and it's one in which, so if it's the culture of an organization, it's one in which folks recognize with each other, and they start to be able to project and predict as I go through with these things. This is what I should expect from all of my peers and my counterparts. And there's going to be some variations to a theme. If some folks will be hard chargers and you're trying to get stuff done and they might ruffle some feathers and things of that sort. But if we can always come back to the same thing, this COAA Way culture. And I was thinking about this. It was funny because this is continuing to try to refine and really define this definition for folks that they start getting into this a little bit. Well, if you're so teamwork oriented and if you're like helping each other, don't you get to points in which like where people will slack off because someone else is going to be there to pick them up, those kinds of things, and it's okay. There's a really, it's a fine line. There's a balance, there's maintaining your own accountability. And then it's really about encouraging everyone else to maintain their accountability. and how do you help them, how to help them be accountable, not necessarily do the work for them, but how do you help them be accountable? In some ways, as an owner, it's, being more flexible with, your standards, or what your scope is, or, maybe it's a money thing, it's like, look, I can see that as being, I'm not going to fight you on that change order. I can see that change order being, a reasonable thing to do, whatever it is. Same thing with, you can see the AE and the contractor, working on how can I make you maintain your accountability. So.
All right. Well, we could talk. Any of the three of us could talk, especially to you, John, for forever. But we try to keep these, pretty short, 15, 20. So I just have one more, and Lucy may have something else. But otherwise, we know you have more important stuff to do. Cut you loose. What's the biggest thing? I don't want to deal what keeps you up at night. That sounds cliche, but you probably have a top 3, top 5. Pick one. Doesn't have to be number one. What is most concerning in the day job realm to you right now? And I give you some multiple choices just to get the juices flowing. Maybe it's retaining and recruiting talent. Maybe it's culture. Maybe it's dealing with change. Maybe it's the economy. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess so. I that is hard. I'm going to pick one. It's really more global than that. And we talked about, maintaining accountability in a project. I do think that there, again, it's a balance, right? And I think in the world in general, I think I think we've moved a little bit away from self accountability, and I do think that we need to recognize that that you need to maintain your accountability to each other, to the industry, what you're doing. I do think that, and that goes up to the top. There's organizations, they need to be accountable to their staff. Training, putting people in a position they can succeed. I guess that's what I think of when you ask me that question. I do think that we're going to go through much transition. We're going to be going through some changes here, and I feel like I have to be accountable. I have to put my folks, the folks that are really counting on me in a best position to succeed, and that's who I have to be accountable to. I also have to be accountable to the folks that are relying on me above me to help this FM, to help facilities management be successful. When I see it every day, it just seems like somebody's pushing the blame off on somebody else. I don't know. That's what I see a lot of.
Yeah, lack of accountability, sideways, up and down, all of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just to put a point on it, I guess is I'd say it happens daily, several times a day. Something happens, and my gut reaction is somebody screwed up. Okay, but I say, okay, now wait a minute, and if I'm involved in that chain of things, okay, now wait a minute, all right, what did I do to not put somebody in a position to succeed? Was there something that I said that was misunderstood? Did I check on the process to make sure that the process was going the direction I should have? Did I wait, 3 weeks, check in and go, oh my God, why are you going this way? Did I, am I asking folks to work so much on, I'll say, the operations and maintenance staff? Are we at a point where they've got so much to do on the service end, and we've asked them to make sure they're taking care of these customers, and they've got no time for preventative maintenance? And then when things break, well, what are you going to do then? Well, you didn't get around to making sure that wasn't going to break. And on same thing on design and construction side, are the questions getting answered? Are we giving people the grace to ask the questions? You know, how many times do you put people in a position where they're afraid to ask a question? So, yes, you know, I got to hold other people accountable, but my first thing to check is, okay, where was my responsibility in this situation?
It's pretty fair. Like I said, John, we could go on forever, but we know you have stuff to do, like holding people accountable and yourself accountable. So
Keep me accountable, right? Keep me accountable to time.
any final closing thoughts on anything? The Orioles, COAA, your life, anything?
Well, you said Orioles, this is the opening weekend. Orioles went 2 for 3. I'm looking forward to them. I'm gonna hold them accountable. You know, they fell short last year. They need to make some hay in the playoffs. So, well, new ownership. So I guess, you know, I guess I can't hold them too accountable for last year, but I'm going to hold them accountable for this year.
I like it. You hear that, you new owners? John Zahor's holding you accountable. Get busy. Hey, thank you, man. We know you're busy. We appreciate your time, and we really appreciate, John, everything you
honored.
have done and are doing for COAA. Thank you.
I'm honored you guys are asking me. Appreciate the opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Thanks.
All good.